Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lowering IQ Boxing Chronicles, the place where logic gets CTE. On today's episode, Mr. Ring IQ and his panel of boxing intellectuals combine their devastating level of collective brainpower to tackle the complex question of whether David Benavidez could beat the great Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde, or even dare to step into the ring with them with barely enough collective intellectual wattage to power a microwave clock. Will they be able to get to the bottom of the truth? Let's find out. And I almost forgot. Hit the music.
But back to Callum Smith, David Benavidez. My question to all of you is, if Turkey tells David, yo, I got $5 million for you to fight Callum Smith, I got $5 million for you to do that, do you think he would do it?
I do.
You think all right, one for he would do it.
Not for 5, bro.
One for no, nay for Callum. Do you think he would do it?
Well, if he's getting like between 3 and 4 for a Morrell, why would he do that for 5 for a Callum
he's not
Smith?
getting 3
He's
and 4.
not getting 3 and 4.
My dude,
You don't think so?
I promise you that the guarantee he got is $1.5 million for Morrell.
No, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. I think David's gonna want more because he knows that's not a guaranteed dub, man. Let's not kid ourselves.
You don't think he would do the Euro? I'm not saying Euro bum or nothing like that,
bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Euro bum or nothing like that, but that's the mentality that the American fighters have. That they think they're automatically gonna win if it's a guy from Europe. They think they're automatically gonna win. So on that premise, I'm thinking, would he take that fight if Turkey told him?
You dog, hold on, because I'll be honest with you, because I don't like Benavidez either, but I will say I'll give him this. I think he's a lot smarter than he gives off, and he understood those problems down at 168, and he also understands them at 175, bro.
Yeah, that's
So
what
I know for a fact he knows he'll get dropped in that fight at the very least.
Yeah.
He already said that basically he's not going to be fighting over there.
Listen,
he wants to
I
fight
agree,
in Vegas.
Man,
He wants to.
David and his team, they're sitting back, bro, and they're looking at this and they're like, look how we've performed at each fight at 175. Look what Callum's done since he's been to 175. Like look what he did to Buatsi. Are you fucking kidding me? And we supposed to put a dent in this motherfucker and not get hurt in the process? Like that's a high risk. Confidence or not, regardless, that's a high risk. They're gonna ask for more. I think they don't accept.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. David Benavidez won't even dare to step in the ring with a killer like Callum Smith. At least not for $5 million. Because, of course, fighters like Gvozdyk and Morrell pale in comparison to a juggernaut like Callum Smith. I mean, just look at his run at 175. Knocked out 3 bums, went life and death with domestic level Buatsi, then got knocked the fuck out by Beterbiev. Clearly Benavidez would be trembling in his boots at the very thought of tangling with such a monster. Simply too much risk for $5 million. Who knows? He might need $200 million, just like Canelo.
This is a real question, and I want a real answer because I'm a little stumped with this one myself.
You gotta control it, Jules. You gotta go. You gotta call everybody.
I'm a little stumped. Does David Benavidez beat Callum Smith?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes even a titan like Mr. Ring IQ can be intellectually stumped, especially when the cognitive load exceeds 2 brain cells. But thankfully in times like this, he can always rely on his panel of intellectual droolers to steer him in the right direction. Let's see what brilliance they have in store.
I was just thinking about that earlier today.
No.
I
No.
don't.
One at a time.
know.
Let me go to Michael. Michael, do you think David Benavidez beats Callum Smith?
Listen, if he wants to go to the body, that left hook is gonna be coming from Callum. You know that shit like that. That catch and shoot is serious. He's gonna be fighting somebody just as tall as him. I think Callum might be taller. I know he's just as long as him.
It's a difference of an inch because I think Callum is 6'4", and David is 6'3", right? Like that.
So I'm probably gonna go Callum. I think he can outbox him for 12. And when he does go to the body, I think he can capitalize because David has this thing where he just leaves his hands down and you haven't fought somebody who's experienced enough who's gonna catch you with that. Callum's the one that's gonna catch you with that for sure.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Callum Smith is the one. Out of all the fantastic boxers David has fought, guys who couldn't outbox him or stop him, world champions like Plant, Andre, Gvozdyk and Morrell, it's Callum Smith who's going to outbox him over 12 rounds and maybe even knock him out. The fighter who needed a robbery to get past John Ryder and lost every round to Canelo is the guy who's going to beat the Mexican monster.
Chan, Callum Smith, David Benavidez. Who do you think wins?
Now, no panel of boxing intellectuals can be complete without Miss Lady Chan, one of the true intellectual giants of the YTBC, one of those rare individuals where you can literally hear the intelligence dripping from her voice. I'm sure she won't disappoint.
Chan, Callum Smith, David Benavidez. Who do you think wins?
Smith. Yeah. I don't know if Smith stops him though.
And she doesn't. Callum Smith definitely beats David Benavidez. She's just not sure if he knocks him out. And that part is a little bit too tricky to call, even for her.
He's got a chin. But Benavidez is quite good with body shots as well.
He slipped that in there.
He's a fucking bum. Like he's a bum to
Bro,
me.
I already had this conversation with my little cousin earlier today. For one, I don't think Benavidez takes that fight. But
No.
two, I think he for real life gets chin checked worse than Morrell in that fight. And
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to risk that. I think he's smarter than he gives
But
off.
do you think Smith can put him down?
Yes.
Absolutely.
No, yeah,
Absolutely.
no. Wait.
Yeah.
If it's not a question, this is the thing. It's not a question of Callum's power. I'm already convinced. Nobody's gonna convince me of otherwise. Callum is a harder puncher at 175 than David Benavidez.
Of
We've
course.
seen it.
Y'all saw his
He
debut?
stopped the dude. He stopped the dude who
Yeah,
literally
couple
the Lennon Castillo win is an underrated. That dude never been knocked
Bro,
out.
he put him in
This
the
mother-
dirt.
Wasn't that in
Put
like
him-
2 rounds? Couple
Exactly.
rounds?
He gave that motherfucker a seizure. How hard he hit him.
Mhm.
So
He put that motherfucker in the dirt.
Yeah, so
the
basically
power is there. So
David's two opponents at 175 literally have a coma on their record. They literally both put an opponent into a coma. But of course, David won't be able to handle the devastating power of Callum Smith. Logic checks out again.
it's not a question of Callum's power. I'm already convinced Callum is a harder puncher than you. My issue is John Ryder was not a harder puncher than you. He's not. He's not a harder puncher than Callum Smith. But because he got in your wheelhouse, because he was close to you, throwing combinations, you didn't look good. You got flustered. John Ryder is not a big guy.
He's
not
small.
a big,
Yeah, he's
small
small.
guy.
Canelo's height. Yeah.
That to
So
me is the
hold
big
on,
thing.
country. Hold that thought.
Okay.
So if it's a bigger guy doing that, how are you gonna handle it?
Here we have an interesting moment where Mr. Ring IQ accidentally stumbles onto a semi-decent point. He poses a real question to the panel. Callum Smith has historically struggled with pressure fighters. So how will he be able to deal with the pressure of Benavidez? I'm sure someone on the panel can solve that mystery.
But well, country, go ahead.
Yeah.
I feel like Ryder hits harder than Benavidez.
That to
Me
me
too.
is
Me
the
too.
big question.
And there you have it. John Ryder hits harder than David Benavidez. Mystery solved. Puzzle cracked. Case closed.
What do you
The-
think Anthony Yarde would do to David?
I like honest to God, Chan, honest to God, I'm convinced
Yeah.
that Anthony Yarde would knock him out. I don't have you not better beef. You not better beef. You not better beef. It took the guys that knocked out Anthony. These is not regular people. Fuck is you
Kovalev.
talking about?
Kovalev.
Kovalev. That's not a
That's
regular
That's not a
dude.
normal person.
Knock him out with a jab. Like,
Now,
I mean, he could knock out Benavidez Yarde for sure.
now Anthony was in there trading punches before he got knocked out. He was in there trading punches with Artur, trying
Those
to
are
take it
some
to
fucking
Artur.
heavy punches too.
You not Artur, bro. You Devin Haney at light heavyweight.
Yeah,
You
he
Devin
is.
I
Haney.
said that
Hey,
fucking
but here's another
2
thing
years
about
ago.
You know who would kill him? Anthony Yarde, I think, would really do a working over on
I said
Benavidez.
I said that earlier, and I stand by that. Bro, listen to me. It took Kovalev and Beterbiev to beat Anthony
I
Yarde.
said it after the Beterbiev
Yep.
fight. Benavidez
You
beat
you
that
don't box as good as Kova, and you don't hit as hard as Artur. So I don't see you beating. I think Anthony knock your ass out. That's what I think.
Anthony's got a lot of power.
Now, you might think Anthony Yarde, who not only lost to Kovalev and Beterbiev, but also Lyndon Arthur, and has looked like complete trash in his last 4 fights against bums, would have no shot against a prime Benavidez. But that's because you're not thinking on ring IQ's level. You see, unless you punch like Beterbiev or box like a shot Kovalev, Yarde is unbeatable. Well, unless your name is Lyndon Arthur. Anyone else? No chance. The only path to victory against the great Anthony Yarde is to hit like Beterbiev or box like a shot Kovalev. And David? Against a bodybuilder who doesn't even spar? No shot. Can't even knock him out. Can't outbox him? No chance. And David is so feather-fisted at 175, he was able to walk down aggressive power punches like Gvozdyk and Morrell because he can't punch. Logic checks out. This is the kind of brilliant boxing insight we all come here for.
He's not gonna fight him neither though, because and that's why I don't rule out that he might sit out the rest of the year, because it's actually not safe at 175.
Five for him. Yeah,
It's not safe.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you thought David was a top dog at 175 after beating up Gvozdyk and David Morrell, you were wrong. In reality, it's become blatantly clear that 175 is not safe for David Benavidez. He needs to avoid the real sharks of the division, like Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde. In fact, that's probably why Bivol, the undisputed champion, dropped his belt instead of fighting him. Makes perfect sense. And I guess that also explains why Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde decided to fight each other instead of just knocking out Benavidez and taking his belt.
Bro, I said this like maybe, I want to say at least 6 months ago. Benavidez doesn't beat any title holder from here on out.
No, I agree.
Any world
I agree. Mirage said Callum Smith is a showcase fight for David. Sure, like David Morrell was, right?
Because obviously, David Morrell and Callum Smith are on the same level. Totally comparable, right? And logic checks out again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.
Let me tell you something. Stupid is incurable. I consider being stupid a disease.